Hey everyone, I'm Tell and this is Telltales, where we go over some of those items in the world of outdoors and fishing that otherwise might go unnoticed. And so today we're going to talk about gear ratio on reels. What does it mean and does it matter, and does it really tell you everything that you need to know? So I've got a couple poles here. I've got a little bass and panfish rod we like to use with a 4.5 to 1 gear ratio. Additionally, I've got a very similar gear ratio, very different rod. This is a chaser with a 4.5 to 1 gear ratio. So identical gear ratio. And last, we've got another sturgeon rod of mine, an Abu Garcia. Actually, this one is a Cast King 70R with a 4.2 to 1 gear ratio. So those are 4.5 to 1. This is 4.2 to 1. What does that mean? Well, what that means is the spool, whether it's a conventional round reel or a spinning reel, for every turn of the handle, right? For every 360 degrees, so from bottom all the way around to bottom, the spool itself is turned, or the line is turned around that spool 4.5 to 1 times, meaning the bail is going to go around the spool 4.5 to 1 times for every rotation of the handle, or in this case, where the spool itself turns, the spool is going to turn 4.2 times for every 360 degrees of rotation applied to the handle. Now, you'd think that tells you pretty much everything you need to know. It's like, well, 4.2 is a little slower. So this one is going to take in line a little faster. And these two are going to take in line at essentially the same speed. But that's not really the case. And this is what a lot of anglers miss when it comes to the presentation of their lures. So to show that, what we can do here is I can bring this swivel right here to the base of the spool, just as a point, with the reel handle turned or pointed straight up. Now, if I reel 360 degrees on that handle, right about there, what we see here is this line has been reeled up approximately 18.5 inches. So 18.5 inches of line retrieved per rotation of that handle. Now, if I apply the same philosophy to this reel, and let's find a nice point, like straight up, and I again place myself just at essentially the base of the spool, and I now reel, let's get that straight up right there, and I reel 360 degrees, about right there, just about to the first line guide. What we're going to see is that we have well over 25, what probably appears to be 29 inches of retrieve. Now, both of these are 4.5 to 1 gear ratio. So shouldn't they retrieve at the exact same speed? Well, no. The diameter of the spool and the line on that spool plays a big influence on the way that the line is retrieved. And so if we do this experiment one more time with this 4.2 to 1 gear ratio, we would expect, we've seen this at 18.5 inches. We've seen this at 29 inches. Well, theoretically, this would be significantly less. But again, applying the same experiment, got our handle at the bottom. I come all the way around, right about there. Let's see there. 360 degrees. This one has reeled in 20 inches. So this 4.2 to 1 gear ratio retrieves line faster than this 4.5 to 1 gear ratio, but quite a bit slower than this 4.5 to 1 gear ratio. The reason for that is the diameter of the spool, right? We've got a spool diameter here of probably 2.5 inches versus this one, which I would say is around 1 3/4 inches. So we know that gear ratio doesn't explain how quickly line is going to be retrieved. Now, sometimes the box will tell you how many inches of retrieve per rotation of the handle. It's worth noting that that isn't a universal number. If you have this spool halfway filled, that number is not going to be accurate. If you had filled your spool all the way and filled that diameter to its max, but now you've cast it out, say 80 yards, out sturgeon fishing on the river, and you've spooled off half of your line, again, that amount of retrieve is going to be completely different because you've changed the diameter of the spool. Now, in sturgeon fishing, this likely doesn't matter. But in fishing where you're trying to present your bait with action, maybe it's bass fishing, maybe it's pan fishing, or trout fishing with a spinner, the rate of retrieve is really, really key. And so if you pick up two separate rods, maybe one's a little 1000 series reel and another's a 2500 series reel or a 3000 series reel, and you're trying to retrieve them at the same speed, your presentation is going to be wildly different. And that makes all the difference between whether you spend half your day at the bank and you catch nothing, or you're reeling one in on every 5th cast. So, I hope this has been helpful to you, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. If you have any questions or things that don't make sense, please share them in the comments, and I look forward to making a video to dive into some of those topics.